Another aspect of reversing endothelial function, it's not only anti-aging effect but also prevention of the occurrence of future cardiovascular event. How it is actually done? Now, if you see, when the endothelial function improves, your arterial stiffness or the hardening of the arteries is reduced. Remember, the arteries or capillaries or a microvessel is almost 60,000 miles long. So much of space or the vascular space is there. So when your heart is pumping, it has to pump with a force enough to push the blood into 60,000 miles of blood vessels. Now, if your vessels are elastic, your heart can pump easily, efficiently, and without much stress. If your arteries become stiffer and stiffer, the burden is given to the heart. So the heart as a pump is going to take the burden and it is going to push harder and harder into the blood vessel, which is becoming stiffer. So when the heart started pumping harder and harder, there are certain changes which happen in the heart itself. Number one, it requires more and more blood supply. So even if your blood vessel which is supplying to your heart muscle is normal with minor obstruction, because it requires more oxygen and more nutrition than before, it may not be sufficiently given by your normal arteries. So you may get a cardiac disease, chest pain, because muscle is not getting enough blood supply since it's working harder. Now, second, when it is pushing the blood with a higher pressure, the heart muscle wall, which is called the ventricle, it becomes thicker and thicker. When you are young, the new muscles are formed, so that new cells keeps on adding. But when you are aged, the new cells are not replaced, but the existing cells become larger. So what we call is a hypertrophy of the heart muscle. The heart muscle has become thicker and thicker. It makes the blood flow to the heart muscle a difficult aspect. So that is why people in age, they may have a blockage for a long period of time, but at one point of time the muscle becomes so enlarged because of the stiffness of the vessel. Now it is not able to get the enough blood supply, which the same vessels were supplying before with even a blockage of 50 to 60%. Now this vessel is not sufficient because of the demand is increased, where the supply remains constant. So this is why when you do EECP along with the exercise and weight reduction, there is a significant change in this vascular system. The stiffness has drastically come down, endothelial function is restored, the vessels started dilating and become more flexible. So when it reaches more flexible, then your heart is able to pump easily. So always remember, when you have a disease in your blood vessel carrying blood to the heart muscle, which is called coronary artery. Coronary artery disease is one of the important disease which causes 90% of death in heart disease. So here I want to stress this, because you always remember, flow to the heart muscle only carry 50% and demand, because of the vessels are stiffened throughout the body, create another 50%. So if both are going to contribute 50%, and then both has to be taken care if you want to avoid heart disease. Sometimes even if you get a heart disease, putting a stent or a graft only to the blood vessel in the heart will not be a solution, because the stiffening of the vessel or blockage of the vessel, it is not very specific only to your blood vessel carrying blood to your heart, coronary artery, but to your entire system. So when the entire system is dysfunctional, focusing only on one point, it is not going to resolve your symptom at all. That is why in stable patient, bypass and angioplasty is not useful to prevent death or prevent a heart attack. Study after study is showing that. So using EECP as a wellness treatment to prevent endothelial dysfunction and to reverse your stiffness could be a wonderful solution to reverse aging and also prevent getting heart disease in the future.
இருதய நோயாளிகளுக்கு bypass surgery angioplasty சிகிச்சை முறை தான் முன்னாடி கொடுக்கப்பட்டுள்ளது. சோ இதற்கான மாற்று சிகிச்சை முறை EECP Enhanced External Counter Pulsation Heal Your Heart Vaso-Meditech EECP Treatment Center.